the problem. And anyway, so that's kind of the current picture, current snapshot of what's going on.
So exactly, the IMF said that they were going to print billions of dollars, if not trillions of dollars, in this global quantitative easing. And what this really means with this global currency is going to be less transparency and more corruption for the guys at the top. Meanwhile, they point to like Bernie Madoff, who no doubt is a criminal, but he obviously had help in all over Wall Street, and they're not going after his cronies at all. And they're saying that when they go after Madoff himself, that they need a new global body to go after these guys. So, to me, this is all about globalism. When they say they're going to, have this global currency, and I explain that to people, they say, well, what does it look like? And I try to say to them, it doesn't look like anything yet. It's just them trading what really isn't there, because we have a fiat currency that they can literally, when you were on that television show, I think Alex may have played the clip while you were on, and you whipped out the toilet paper and you said, here's $1 trillion, here's $5 trillion. It really is worthless paper. We're the ones that are giving it value. And as they blow out the economy further, like you said, it's only going to get worse. Our currency is going to be devalued, I would say, probably over the next 2 or 3 years even further, correct? I mean, you don't think the dollar is going to recoup, do you?
No, the dollar is going to be replaced with a new currency that'll be part of this transformation. You mentioned a couple of things that are key. Mm-hmm. It does mean less transparency. And in a healthy economy, you want as much transparency as possible. But what we're talking about here is less transparency. The other thing we're talking about when people say, well, what's the big deal, global currency? I don't see any problem with that. The problem is twofold. Number one, it leads to less competition, because one of the dynamics that makes the global economy work is that countries and corporations and people are competing with each other, and it leads to a meritocracy, if you will, that there's a certain amount of business Darwinism where the strongest survive. But if you have one currency and the access to credit is determined not by competition but by cronyism and by favoritism, it destroys competition, and you end up with something like, the royal families in Europe of the Middle Ages, which is a lot of incest and a lot of insanity, because you're not weeding out the weak, you're breeding them, from a business sense. But the other thing to think about is, if in fact the credit is going to be awarded not based on merit but based on favoritism, really what we're talking about here are what I would call financial Jim Crow laws. If you remember the Jim Crow laws in America back before the Civil Rights era, you had the situation where the blacks in America had to use separate facilities. They had separate entrance to restaurants, separate entrance to restrooms. They had to sit in the back of the bus. Mm-hmm. Well, basically, we're in a period of financial Jim Crow laws where if you're not down with the administration, if you're not kowtowing to the administration, you're going to pay a lot more for your interest. And because everyone effectively is in debt, everyone's in debt. So the only question is, how much do you pay on your interest? Mm-hmm. And if you're on the wrong side of these financial Jim Crow laws, you're going to be paying 15, 16, 17, 18% on your money. If it's a check cashing scheme in a city, you're paying 35% on your money, versus the people on the inside who are the masters, if you will, living in the big house. They're paying 1%, 0.5%. If you had a lot of money, you borrow it from Japan now. Japan, the cost of borrowing money in Japan is less than 1%. It's less than 0.5%. But if you're an American and you go buy a car, the cost or you're out there using a credit card, you're paying 16, 17%. So why is it that for some people are able to borrow money at 0.5%, and other people have to pay 16, 17%? The only reason is because of these what I call these financial Jim Crow laws. They're being discriminated against, and this is leading to incredible tension in society, because people are realizing now that people don't want to be discriminated against. People don't want to be put in a ghetto, a debt ghetto, a virtual debt ghetto, paying usurious rates on their money, and having no way to escape the situation, having no way to escape their debt indebtedness, and this is leading to, of course, a lot of tension.
Well, on the other side, I want to talk to you how we can escape this, how we can protect ourselves, what investments are good ones. We have Max Keiser. It's the InfoWarrior with Jason Bermas. PrisonPlan.tv, Infowars.com.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold for your IRA? The financial industry refuses to recognize the value of real hard assets for your retirement. The truth be told, gold and silver has outperformed paper investments like stocks, bonds, and CDs, yet no word about IRAs. Perhaps the financial institutions want to maintain control of your assets by keeping you in paper. If you'd like to take a look at gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low return on your paper investments. Call 800-686-2237. Make sure that you secure your future. Call 800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.
All right, we are back. The short segment with Max Keiser, then the long segment after this one. Max, I got to ask you, how can the average person, if they can't escape this, how can they prepare? How can they make the best of it? I mean, how can they survive during this financial crisis? What are the steps the average person can take to protect themselves from this?
Well, there's two questions. One is, how to protect yourself, survive in this financial holocaust that we're involved with now. The other question is, how do you proactively try to restore some balance to the system? So let me, on the second point first, if I can, let me talk about this project that I'm starting. Actually, I announced this project for the first time on Alex Jones' show a couple of days ago. Mm-hmm. And so let me, if I can, give you some details on something I'm working on now, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm starting this new web enterprise, new website called Pirate My Film. And this is going to be another way, and I've been exploring this for a couple of years now, a few years, how to channel dissent. In other words, there are millions of people out there who recognize that the system is horribly lopsided. There is no balance in the system. There's very little justice in the system. So how do you rebalance that? How do you restore some justice and equilibrium to the system? And so I introduced a couple of projects along the years to address this problem. One was called Karma Bank, which allowed for activists to take down corporations by leveraging boycotts and leveraging their boycotts, and at the same time encouraging hedge funds to attack companies with short sales, so this way they could monetize their dissent. Mm-hmm. And but my latest project is called Pirate My Film. It's another way to channel this enormous energy in ways that I think will undo a horrible injustice in the U.S. and around the world, which is the copyright laws. The copyright laws are horribly unjust. And even in your own experience, Jason, with your film Loose Change, which became really an era-defining film, you went right to the internet with that film, and you saw that it was tremendously important in raising people's awareness about a lot of very important issues.
Oh, the most important tool was the internet. Without the internet, we could have never gotten our message out there. We had to put it out for free, and thank God that we put it out just around the time that Google Video started to get big and YouTube started to blow up. Otherwise, I don't know if we would have got our message out there.
Right. And part of the reason why it is hard to get the message out there is because of these pernicious copyright laws that serve only the corporate agenda. and don't really serve the public agendas or the public domain. Now, with Pirate My Film, the idea is that instead of attacking the pirates, attacking the distribution possibilities of the Internet, this embraces the pirates. It embraces the possibility of the Internet. Filmmakers post their films to the site to raise money for their films, or they pre-sell what I call gold copies of their film. And a gold copy is entitled to some revenues at some point after the film is released to the pirate network. But in the meantime, what gold copies are doing, it's building up the potential for individuals to, when the budget of a film is met, to be debited in a group a small fee that goes to the filmmaker to make their film. And this is all being tracked on the website. So if you needed, for example, I just got contact, as a matter of fact, from the filmmaker before I came on your show. I was reading my emails.